Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the end of Unit 3. The final project lessons have been posted, and we're going to be moving into Unit 4 at some point next week. Probably, I think, Wednesday will be when I post the first lessons of Unit 4, and then we're going to be like right on the home stretch to finishing the course. And I'm going to talk about how the course is going to end by the end of this video. So first up, just to kind of reiterate what level 4 looks like. I had a student come in today, one of the students who's from our school. I don't want to say who it is. We'll just call her Sydney F. That's too obvious. Let's call her S. Fowler. Came in today and asked about level 4 versus level 3, and we got into a discussion about what they look like. And the point that S. Fowler tried to make was, if you did exactly what you're supposed to do, but did it really, really well, that should be level 4. If you did level 3 tremendously well, that could actually be like a level 4. But remember, the difference between level 3 and level 4 is level 3 is you do exactly what you're supposed to do, and level 4 is you're exceeding those expectations. All right, so the whole conversation was in light of lesson 6, what does it mean to be a good person? And in order to, it's that whole response, like from Isaac's point of view, about the situation involving him almost being sacrificed by his father. And you have to apply all 4 of the principles that are listed in order to get to level 4 for that part of the rubric. And one of those principles is hidden in the course readings. You actually have to like go through and read all the content in order to find that last concept there, which I think is what a level 4 student would do. So for S. Fowler and everybody else who's wondering about that particular lesson, it's there. Like have a look, you'll see it in there. And remember, you want to exceed the expectations. And in light of university-bound people, for next year, you're going to be in a classroom of excellent students next year, and you're going to want to, at least I think you should want to get noticed among your peers. And if you do what you're supposed to do, you won't get noticed. You'll sort of like just be one of that crowd of people. Like your paper will be one of many good papers. If you're writing an essay, or if you're doing a presentation, your presentation will be one of many good presentations. In order to be noticed or to stand out, you do really want to strive for excellence. And that means going above and beyond what it is that the professor is going to be asking for. All right, on that note, essay/presentation project. So just to clarify, because I had some people I think maybe thought the deal was too good to be true, and so they emailed me and asked, like, so of those 4 lessons, like I only have to cover 1, right? Like they're not all going to end up on the exam or something and I'm going to be in bad shape. No, you only have to do 1. And the reason why is because they're really just the same lesson. I had a look at them. And really what they are is taking the concepts from the first 6 lessons of the unit and then like using those in particular situations, looking at particular topics. So euthanasia, warfare, animal rights, and cheating. And basically what I want you to do is I want you to argue the less popular side of those 4 issues. So the idea being that if you can argue the less popular side, you should easily be able to argue the more popular side. And I'm leaving that open to you as far as like whether you want to do an essay or presentation, because I know at this point, those of you taking like a 4U English this semester or 4U social science of any kind, you've probably written enough papers at this point. So that presentation option is there if you would rather speak instead of write. So what I'm looking for you to do is I'm looking for you to read the whole lesson, right? And I want you to apply like the concepts from like the first 6 lessons that you've picked up in order to argue intelligently the less popular side of the particular issue. So you're going to have to become a bit of a moral relativist. right? You're going to have to become a bit of a lawyer too, looking at like, like what is the definition of morality? What is the definition of good or bad? What is the definition of duty? And I think applying those the way that a lawyer would, in order to make a good case for why we should be like using animals as test subjects, which is kind of a it's kind of a dark thing. Euthanasia is even darker. Like to euthanize the elderly or the disabled is a very dark thing to argue. But you can do it if you apply your knowledge of ethics intelligently. So you have to be careful. Like how do you argue that it is okay to go to war, to fire 59 ballistic missiles at a country, regardless of who's going to die? Knowing full well that civilians are going to die, how could you argue that it's still moral, it's still ethical to do so? So you really do have to read carefully the lesson you're going to study. So if you're doing the cheating one, read the lesson content about the arguments, like why cheating is not moral, and also like the other side, like what they say. Pick out the best information that you can, and then like come at it with that good foundation of knowledge of terminology and concept use. So in the discussion of like think morally, I kept directing people to go back to the definition of like what does moral actually mean, right? To act moral means like to do good in light of whoever's part of your moral community. Well, if I change who's in my moral community, I kind of change what is or is not moral, right? And a good example of that is adding animals to your moral community. So in one of the lessons, the earlier on lessons, it talked about how it's considered immoral to steal candy from a baby, but it's amoral to steal it from a squirrel, right? Unless you include squirrels and animals in your moral community. So you change who your moral community includes, and you change what is or is not ethical, right? So that's what I'm getting at when I say think like a lawyer. So know your terms and concepts and come at it with that nice foundation of knowledge, and make sure that you're using evidence from the reading. So I'm expecting you to use direct quotations, or at least like really like close paraphrases of concepts from the readings in your essay, or when you're quoting it in like a presentation. So you can't quote it the same way that you would in an essay, where you just put something in quotation marks and you add a citation. What you have to do is phrase it like, according to the course content of my philosophy course, and then like read the exact quotation, right? So, or like according to like this particular section of lesson 9, and then you read the exact quotation of what you're going to use. So you cite the information that way, as opposed to in paper form. So anyways, when it comes to doing the presentations, basically the upside to it is you don't have to worry about like doing a lot of writing. Instead, you just sort of like organize what you're going to talk about, and then you just deliver it into a camera and you record that and get it to me somehow. The best and easiest way is probably like just to upload it to YouTube, and then like as like a private video or unlisted video, and then send me the link to it, and then I should be able to watch it that way, and then you can delete it or monetize it and make lots of money if you want to. All right, so if you have any questions about the essay/presentation, by all means email me about it. And like that assignment, I think I've set the due date like to Friday for it, but like I said, we have to move on with Unit 4 probably on Wednesdays, where you can expect the first lesson of that. So that takes us to the last thing that I want to talk about, the exam/culminating activity. So a couple of you have asked me what's the plan for this course, and really I'm good either way. I don't mind having an exam, I don't mind having a culminating activity, but actually I'm also okay with letting letting utilitarian ethics decide it. So the greatest good for the greatest number of people. If you want to email me sometime this next week with your vote of whether you'd rather have a culminating activity or an exam, and you don't have to explain why, just like email me and say, Mr. M, I'd rather have this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go with whatever the majority says. I thought about putting it up as a survey, but I thought, you know, if it's there as a survey, everybody's going to answer even if they don't care. This way, if it's by email, those of you who care quite a lot will, you know, take the time to send me that email. So sometime within the next week, let me know what you'd rather have, and then I will adjust my plans accordingly. All right, so where we are and where we're at is we're finishing up the third unit of the course, and you're writing an essay / doing a presentation on one of the 4 last lessons of the unit. And if you have any questions about what your essay should look like or what your presentation should look like, you're going to be emailing me and asking me for help, because I'm going to help you if you need help. Other than that, you're going to, you know, whatever final like posts you want to make on the forums, you're going to want to do that by Wednesday, because once we move on to the next unit, I just sort of like end the forum discussions. And also be aware, if there is anybody who's got Unit 2 work outstanding, as soon as we move on to Unit 4, I will take late work from Unit 3, but I won't take any late work from Unit 2. So if you have anything outstanding from Unit 2, make sure that you get her done and get it into me. All right? That's all I have to say for today, except for thank you to everybody and anybody who emailed me and gave me like best wishes, like in the last video when I was going out of my mind because it looked like I was going to lose my job. I actually received a miracle of sorts, and I didn't lose my job. I don't really know how it happened. I'm not going to question it at all. I'm just going to roll with it. It was a tremendously pleasant surprise to hear. But for those of you who did email me and like commiserate, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Anyways, have a good weekend, everybody, and I guess I'll be checking in with another video next week.